gentlemen. Welcome to Talk Time with Terry and our guest, Candidate Allie Petonic for School Board. Hi, Allie. How are you?
Hi, Terry. I'm doing well. It's good to see you. Good to be here.
You as well. You as well. It was great talking to you yesterday. Um, yes, if any questions, we can get started. Thank you for coming to Talk Time with Terry. We what we do is we like to know the who, the what, the where, and the why, and just have a nice conversation of who you are, your why. So with that, my question to you is, why are you running for school board, and what unique perspective can you bring?
Well, Terry, I've been a union organizer and community advocate in Pittsburgh for some time. I live on the north side in Brighton Heights. And as a union person working with working families and conditions, different from, say, mine, I get to listen in to the sort of fairness that
Mm,
people deserve in their work. And it's that kind of skill that makes me a good community advocate also. I've been working in community coalition for years on education issues like language access and language justice for immigrant communities. And it means listening in, drawing out community voices about they want in their neighborhoods of Pittsburgh. And as a board member, I think what the Pittsburgh Public Schools really needs and District 9 needs is someone who can represent them by listening in, hearing the concerns of community, raising questions, for them that help us expand on the strengths of our schools, but also call out what's not serving our students well, call out
mm.
the sort of barriers that our teachers and staff may have to do their work as effectively as they can. And right now in Pittsburgh Public Schools, there's some great programs that set us apart. Programs like our career and technical education, our community schools model, even our early
Mhm.
childhood. What a great solution for working families. But we also are at a crossroads here of facing, some decisions about potential closures. And I'd like to see us turn
Mhm.
away from repeating decisions of the past. That's why I became a
Mm.
candidate now. I want to make sure these issues have a campaign. I'm qualified to be listening in, asking, questions and expecting accountability from leaders in our district. I want to serve our communities for District 9 on the school board.
Thank you for that, and thank you for reminding us what district. Because I didn't say that. I didn't say what district you are a candidate for. So thank you for sharing that with us. Um, so, and you did mention about there is a concern of closing the schools. Do you want to tap in on that or talk more on that? What is your concern? One, and do you? Yeah, what is your concern?
Yeah, my concern is, on the school board, we have to do our very best to strengthen public schools and keep the public in public schools, right? That means supporting these schools for future generations for our learners, right? We also, the board also needs to have a fair budget and, a balanced budget. The district is looking at a gap of about $29 million, right? Which is about 4% of the overall operating budget. And over 4%, do we think that the only strategy is to close upwards of 10 buildings and 14 schools? There would be 5 on the north side that are changed, just on the
Mm,
north side of Pittsburgh. And when we lose these, as a community, these are the places our students recognize that they,
mm,
can feel comfortable in many cases with people from their own neighborhood. We're losing a resource, sometimes for forever. Where I live in Brighton Heights, I'm close to Horace Mann School that's been closed for some time.
mhm.
I'm also close to Morrow, the elementary school. Our community could be losing that. And what I hear from teachers and staff in the area is that they serve 2 learning communities between the Morrow building and Rooney, and really have, a community of learners that, supports having 2 buildings. In a plan, it's been a reckless plan, Terry. We could really expect that our board members be asking questions, right, about calculations that the public deserves to see some transparency, but also ask questions about the care and consideration that families deserve. That means a transportation budget being spelled out. That means feeder patterns being spelled out. If we can't do that, we can't really call it a plan. And that's not the sort of transparency that the public deserves either.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for that. And I also want to make sure that our audience, if you have any questions, please put them in the chat. We will make sure that Allie gets your questions. If we do not have time for her to answer all of them, we will make sure that she gets them and answer on her when at her leisure. So please, if you have any questions, put them in the chat. Thank you. Okay. Share with us, how do you plan to work collectively with other board members, even when you disagree?
Sure. And so there are, 9 members of the board, and we all serve, some distinctly different districts, right? And different schools, but I think across a board, there are, expectations and guarantees that are there for our students about ensuring their right to a strong public education. And by, expecting that sort of, that all board members share those goals, I think that on the board, the sort of mutual, respect that board members can have for one another means that asking questions, working on common, plans, holding leaders accountable is in the best interest of all of these districts, right? Is in the best interest of any family and student in Pittsburgh. And so for me specifically, I would like to see there be fewer barriers for participation in public hearings. I'd also like to see there be more district and board activity happening in the community, going to where people are. I can imagine that other board members would agree with that too, because it's being in the community where our learners are, their families and community members. I also think that other board members share a commitment to being efficient about our resources and seeing that they are here to serve students of Pittsburgh, even as there are attacks happening federally on public education. And I think that assuming those sorts of intentions and that sort of mindset can mean that we are working, collaboratively to, support families across Pittsburgh Public Schools.
Thank you for that. Let me ask you this: because as we know, the property tax goes and helps with our schools, correct?
Yes.
And so what is your take with the property tax going up and or being assessed?
Yeah, what an important question. It's, we're talking about this in a time where, living expenses for working families is really challenging, right? And so we've got to respect that, issues about housing affordability in Pittsburgh are always important. We want to make Pittsburgh a livable city for all of our neighbors, and also make it a fair place to rent. And the reassessment case in Pittsburgh rests on the fact that we're overdue for an assessment. And so the values that are being taxed are really out of date. And, some who have some very, profitable, homes or properties are not, paying on their fair share to, our, to our municipality and to the district. And so we want to be, funding those equitably. And it's also going to restore some fairness, because people who have, homes that are just not, valued, quite as highly, who may not be as wealthy, could also see, some fairness for them too. But with the values being so out of date, that means that both the city of Pittsburgh and the school district are not realizing the sort of, revenue that funds public services and our public school district.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That is so important. Thank you
Yeah.
so much for tapping on
It's important to see the
Allie,
case
because it's
play
real.
out. Yeah.
Yeah. Because in it, to make sure that our schools get the fair share, because that does affect our schools. And so it's such, like you said, it's such a bad time right now with finances and people, just money period right now is really, really, it's a bad time. So thank you.
Thank you. I'll add too
Thank
that
you so much for that.
it comes up a little bit in conversations, as I'm talking door to door with voters.
Yeah.
They realize, on the one hand that, they have costs to balance in their own families, but they also support a strong public school system. And so we've got to get this right. We have to see this case play out so that we're not, restricting the sort of resources that our schools can expect, right?
Yeah. Thank you so much for that, because like you said, I'm sure you're hearing it, and I hear it in just everyday conversation as well. So thank you so much for tapping in on that. Let me see. What will be your priorities for improving academic outcomes?
Mm-hmm. Well, so student outcomes.
That's a tough one.
It is, but it's it's the charge. It's the charge though of a school district and a public school district, right? Is to reach so many different learners who have all sorts of different interests, but to make sure that their learning experience is grounded in fundamentals, reading, writing, math, that they're also feeling fulfilled by learning in STEAM, right, and in music and art. And so I hear from parents, how is it that what sort of change should we be looking for from schools where students reading performance is not strong, right, or their math and writing needs to be improved.
Yeah.
We've got to strengthen these public schools so that students are excelling at the basics, that we're resourcing teachers with that there are enough teachers, right? There are enough adults in the schools, right? Yeah. There were 170 vacancies in the schools as of December. And when you have those kind of vacancies, teachers and staff. Teachers and staff.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And I don't know where that number stands now, right? But when you have that sort of gap in the schools, on the one hand, it means that the district isn't spending as much, but that's not the ideal way to be saving costs. It means that we don't have enough adults, that some classroom sizes are actually larger, that it can be more difficult for students to learn in those environments, right? We also have to support students' ability to catch up. That's the work of the Student Achievement Center. People who've been following the public hearings lately have heard the parents and staff and teachers at the Student Achievement Center speak out about the sort of the teaching there, right, that equips students to be able to pass grades, pass the basics they need. So we have to do that to help students catch up, and yet it's on the potential closure list.
Wow.
And so for student outcomes, it means it means taking seriously these sort of basics, resourcing teachers better, providing the types of classes that really speak to student interests. That means world language. It means art. It means science and STEAM. It also means CTE, career and technical education. These are the things that reach students, that can help them, come, to school, be regular, attendance and participants in the classroom, and increase attendance. I want to call out too the success of community schools in the district. There are 9 of them, and community schools are sites that have wraparound services for all of our students. They actually can increase attendance because students feel comfortable in the classrooms. Safe, healthy, and inclusive classrooms also can improve student outcomes. And
Yeah.
I've heard from many advocates that more of our schools could be community schools. We could see more of them across the district.
Oh, really?
Those are just some
That's
of the
good.
improve outcomes. Yeah,
Langley's a community school.
it is.
Yeah. So we're a community school. And Mike Dean does a wonderful in the community and with the resources and getting the community to know. So yeah. So thank you so much for that. Um, so do you have a plan or idea or vision that you could share with us how to address racial and social economic disparities in school resources?
Yeah. So great schools across zip code or across address, to be more specific, is what it means to create equitable schools, so that all of our learners, no matter their race, gender, their gender identity, right, their religion, family, or language spoken at home, they have this guarantee to a strong public education. And addressing disparities means that the budget has to reflect this, right?
Yeah.
So that resources are equitable across schools. And so if we are considering some decisions about what schools are here into the future, then the board ought to be asking for a budget that's fair and equitable, right? That means that an adequate number of teachers and staff, paraprofessionals in the schools. This sort of transparency is going to show us what we value, right? And when we have feedback from the community, that can look like participatory budgeting and understanding what the community wants in their schools. Community schools can also address these disparities. You see that when attendance improves, when students feel safe in their schools because of the wraparound supports, more counselors or therapists, medical appointments, community and after school activities, that too helps to address economic and racial disparities. I think we have world-class schools in Pittsburgh, and we can ensure that we have more world-class schools for all working class students across Pittsburgh.
Oh, wow. Explain that to me. World-class schools. What do you mean?
Yeah, the reputation of our schools is so strong, whether it's the developing community schools model that's here. The work isn't finished on community schools. There could be more of them. The relationships could be more comprehensive, but also let's think about the reputation that is there for our high schools, right? Of Kappa, of programs at Westinghouse, at Alderdice, Obama, and CTE at Carrick. I mean, these are world-class learning opportunities for our high school students. And I don't want to miss Brashear or Perry, by the way. Perry right here on the north side, I hear from students and from staff and teachers there that they are really proud of the school community that's being built. And so the reputation of our schools is that there are many things to be proud of, right? But we want to make sure that all of our students have access to these. That they have access to extracurriculars, right? Like sports and music. And that's not true across our schools.
Yeah.
And that means it's got to be reflected in our budget. Our budget is the guiding document that identifies what it is our district values. And so looking closely at that, looking closely at where savings can be achieved, that's going to allow us to put more resources back in the classroom and create that equity for learners in many schools.
Thank you so much for that. And I'm so glad that I asked, to break down what did you mean by the world-class schools. So thank you so much for that. Thank you. What is your stance with police in schools?
First off, there's many ways to keep students safe, and there that they need to be guaranteed to an environment, without violence, without physical violence, without weapons. And so I do not think that school is a place for police. I think that school is a place for teachers, for paraprofessionals, for social workers, for counselors. And I understand very much that teachers and staff want to, feel safe as well. But having police there is not, or that's not the sort of learning environment that is going to help students feel embraced in. Right, we've got to do more to resource the teaching and paraprofessional staff to keep these environments healthy, for them, where they feel accepted. Right.
Yeah. Thank you for that. Thank you so much. My next question is, and you actually answered them. Was about the budget. So you actually answered my next two questions. And it was basically you broke down, 29 million with 29. You broke down the budget of the school. We talked about the taxes, and we talked about the school funding. So let me ask you, how would you address issues with? So how do you think that the board should address the issues with the old, like aging school buildings, or unequal facilities across the neighborhood? Like if the building is old and wants to, old and few students are in there, what do you think should happen to that building?
So I've heard you then, mention two, points of like information, right, about our buildings, right, is the age of the building, and also the, maybe the condition of it, and then also enrollment. And, certainly the age, of the building isn't how the building is being maintained or kept up. And there's information that maintenance staff in in those buildings have about the condition of the building, that I think it's up to the board to be informed about. That there's questions from administration that are comprehensive, right, about the upkeep of the building, and so we want to look not only at the age, but other things that the maintenance staff know well about it. Then for the enrollment, figures, we've got to look at the ratio of teacher to students. It may be that there are, classroom sizes there that are really supporting students well. And if there's an enrollment issue, right, in that building, there are many families who get frustrated and they leave PPS. They may choose another school that's closer to them. Honestly, the school closure plan has created a lot of confusion. It's been controversial and it's created a lot of confusion. And so families may already be making another choice about another school near them. It might be private, it might be a charter. And so we risk losing them. And the district hasn't asked, when they leave, why they're leaving. And so to address some of those enrollment figures in a school, I think we've got to have a comprehensive approach to learning why we lose them. And let's not risk losing more by repeating mistakes of the past.
Yeah, and that goes back to what you were saying with the communication with the board and the community. So that goes right back to, parents being fearful. And usually when parents are fearful, it's because of the unknown. You know what I'm saying? So it goes back to what you were saying about the transparency with the board and the community. So thank you so much. Thank you for that.
I'll just add, Terri, that those figures are important data. We want to make sure they're up to date, right? We want to make sure that, just as student learning conditions or teacher and staff working conditions. I like to say that quite a bit. And our maintenance staff know this information. That can be part of like a really strong qualitative assessment of these buildings, right? And enrollment figures in our building are just but one point. And we also risk not knowing what communities are growing, where enrollment has increased or leveled off in the district, because we have seen that among some age groups. I believe the K through fifth grade, set, we've actually seen either a leveling or slight increase on the number of students. That suggests that we could keep growing. We could retain students and keep growing. So let's not cut off that opportunity and unnecessarily close schools that won't be here for our current, students and our future neighbors.
Wow. Now, thank you so much for that. Now, the right now the suspension for nonviolence, there's no suspension for K to second.
That's right, K through second grade. Yeah.
Would you be in? Go ahead.
That went through in. There's work on that from 2019 to 2021. Came from an important, campaign by coalition members in the community who, said to our board that taking punitive action on, these young students, right, on these babies, really sets them back, makes them frustrated about learning, and they're not acting out of violence, right? Yeah. And so that ban's important in our district, and it came to be because not simply of the action by the board, but by a community speaking up and a board listening.
Oh, okay, good to know that. I love doing the talk time with Terri because I always learn something new. Thank you so much for that. I had a question. I had a question on the tip of my tongue.
I'm here for more.
Would you be in favor of raising that grade from second grade to maybe nonviolence offenses to maybe fifth or sixth grade?
I've said yes, and I'll continue to say that. I also think that some data and listening into the experience of teachers and of staff is important, right? And looking at some data, we've got to be really concerned too about the use of suspensions on students at such high rates, particularly students of color. And this is about an equitable learning environment that's not punishing students in a way that sends them out of a classroom. And I also realize that teachers and staff are looking to create, a healthy, constructive learning environment. So they're looking for tools to, be fair to all the students in the classroom. But, something that sends students away and suspends them in those grades up to fifth grade is probably not the strategy that's both engaging them in learning and making them feel excited about learning.
Yeah. And that's important. And that's really important. And then when you're that young, the 9 times out of 10, the parent is going to have to call out for work. Right.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So it's like a domino effect that takes place with one suspension of that age.
It is. It sounds like you're hearing about this too from parents.
I am.
Yeah.
Yes, I am. So, and I'm glad that the board is listening. I'm glad that you're hearing what you're hearing on the doors as well. So I'm really, really glad of that. Couple more questions. 2 more questions. I already know the answer to that one. Book ban. I'm not answering that question. I already know your answer.
Let's not ban books. That's
right. Okay. I already asked you about the police. Let me ask you this. Why you? Why Allie Petonic?
Yeah. So Terri, public schools made the difference, in my life. I'm a public schools graduate. I've been a fighter for working people and their families, really listening in to find solutions that sometimes people didn't expect were there. But by listening, right, by working toward, common goals, you can, find the fairness that people deserve. And I think working families and parents of students in our schools are looking for solutions from their board. I'm here to fight for them, to fight alongside them. If what you're thinking as a parent making a choice about who to vote is that these issues are complicated. They can't weigh in all the time. They would just like things to work. I respect that. If your experience is, I'd like to speak up on occasion and have access to my board member, I'm here for that too. I want to be accessible to you and draw out those voices. I also want to see the board coming to the community, and not only through surveys, but through in-person things in community hotspots, schools or churches, or public spaces that draw out more community participation. People need to be asked what it is they want in their schools. I'm excited by these things about working in coalition. And I know that by doing that, we can help the community see that our schools are being accountable to the public, that we're keeping the public in public schools. And I know that there are better solutions to strengthening our schools than looking to closures, and repeating the mistakes of the past. And so I'm ready to take these on. I've been qualified as a community advocate, and with my background with unions, and I'm eager to do this for families, communities, teachers, staff across the North Side and West End.
Yeah. I'm so glad you said that. I just wrote down to ask what schools, but you tapped into the North Side and the West End school district.
Could I name them? Would that be helpful?
Please do.
All right. So we've got Westwood and Langley. Also Morrow over here in Brighton Heights, 2 buildings there. Perry High School, Pittsburgh Classical and the Gifted Center, and the Early Childhood Center at Chartiers.
Okay. And so there you have it. We don't have any questions in the chat, but before, nope, we don't have any questions in the chat. But before I let you go, is there anything first, if somebody wants to ask you questions that I did not ask, or want to talk to you further about something that we were talking about, or they may even want to volunteer, how can somebody get in touch with you?
Oh, that's great. So I have a website. It's Allie4us.org. Allie is ALLIE, 4us.org. And from there, you can click to volunteer. Lots of opportunities for volunteers, and reaching voters near us. There's also a donate link there. And to reach me with an email question, the email address is also on the Facebook page, which is facebook.com/Allie4us. And my email address is my last name, Petonic. My name is Allie Petonic. It's PETONIC for pghpublic@gmail.com. So I look forward to hearing from community, and I'm going to be knocking on your door. I may already have, and I'll continue reaching voters from now to May 20th. I would like to earn your vote. I'd like to earn your vote. I'm excited about what we can do together for Pittsburgh Public Schools.
And believe me, ladies and gentlemen, because she knocked on mine yesterday. So with that, before we go, is there anything that you would like to say before we wrap it up for this evening?
Yeah, Terri, it's a great opportunity to talk to just community members who listen to your program. I know you bring together a diverse audience who cares about community issues, who cares about public education. And I, show up in some of those spaces. I'm excited to be listening in about issues on people's mind. And I'm ready to earn, votes of community members, whether your issue is about healthy and nutritious lunches for our students, or it's about the life skills taught in CTE, right? Or having more music or more recess time and less screen time in the school, more world languages. Let's talk about it. And as we go toward Election Day, this is a great time to be choosing a candidate who supports strong public schools and wants to work in collaboration with community.
There you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Allie Petonic, May 20th is the election. And thank you again for blessing us at Talk Time with Terri with your time. And with that, we are going to wrap it up. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for listening to Talk Time with Terri. And we will talk to you all soon. just a mill